Hi. Film I saw recently that I've been interested in seeing for some time and has been mentioned on the podcast at least once is Warren Beatty's Reds. It's pretty much the film that defines his whole career, released in 1981, and it's a chronicle of the relationship between socialist journalist John Reed with fellow journalist Louise Bryant in the late 19s, and including the events of the Russian Revolution. Beatty not only plays the lead role, he also co-wrote the script, produced and directed the film, and it was his last film in any capacity for the next 6 years, and his last one was director for 9. It was also a massive critical success when it came out, and it was Beatty's second film where he was Oscar nominated as writer, producer, director, and actor. And he's the only person ever to have done that even once, let alone twice. The film itself is, again, massive. It's 3 hours long, and it takes its time telling its story. In fact, it could be argued that Bryant is the protagonist, although the film is also peppered with um, interview sequences where we talk to people who knew them, who knew their artistic left wing circle during the 1910s and during the First World War. So it's really a film of two halves. The first half is a relationship drama about Reed and Bryant and Reed's relationship with the playwright Eugene O'Neill, played by Jack Nicholson. And then in the second half of the film, it becomes more politically active. World War One is a major force in the background, and then the Russian Revolution as Reed travels to Petrograd and becomes effectively the American spokesman for Soviet communism. It's an engaging film. It's very, very well acted, and as an achievement for one filmmaker, it's massive. And Beatty deserves all the acclaim he's had because it's a strong script. It's a very well directed film. The choice of having these interview segments peppered in as a narrative support works very well, and he delivers a great lead performance. But it's not quite as great, I think, as it might have been. It's very big. It's very expansive. This is the film that Beatty had wanted to make for a very long time. So he's poured everything into it. As a result, it's over 3 hours long. It takes its time. It's very languidly paced. There are lots of montage scenes that sort of fill in background that could have been refined out at the screenwriting stage, and the film could have been, I think, been whittled down to closer to 2.5 hours. It's an impressive piece of work, absolutely. And of all of Beatty's films as director, it is the most impressive and the film that he should be remembered for as a great director, perhaps. But I don't think it's his best film. I think his best film is Bulworth, which is much more focused and contained and is a much more contemporary story when he's still communicating the same ideas about socialism and the importance of global revolution. Because although the film has uh, ambiguous, not necessarily ambiguous, but is ambivalent towards Reed himself. It's definitely in sympathy with his ideals, but more the way that he is used and manipulated by other elements and other forces. His motivation and his clarity of thinking is questioned. Nevertheless, Beatty himself has been on record as a democratic socialist. So the film overall it's an impressive piece of work, but one needs to bear in mind that it's possibly Beatty letting his interest in the subject and his focus wander slightly. He's talking at great length on a subject that he knows a lot about, and there isn't anyone else around to interrupt him. And unfortunately, in a film like this, that's a problem. But nevertheless, it's a fairly monumental work, and if you can set aside 3 hours, it's probably worth your time.